Welcome back from the ad break. My name is Aisha Mako, and tonight we will be talking to Romeo Hamza Tshivhula, who is a personal trainer, about the importance of training and how it can have a spiritual as well as physical benefits. Thank you so much for joining us.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
So I wanted to ask to, I think you, for the first time, we're speaking about personal training or just looking after yourself, but we're taking a very different approach on which is linking it to also spiritual healing and how it can benefit you there. So can we just talk about why physical training is beneficial to a person in relation to Islam?
Okay, so training is more than just the physical aspect of it. I mean, of course, you'll look great, you'll feel better, but also just how you feel about yourself, confidence that you have in yourself, and how other people also feel about you. Um, as far as Islam, there's a lot of activities that happen in the Muslim community, going to mosque, prayers, doing your different rakats, different type of prayers. You do need to, I'm recently converted, and when I'm in the mosque, sometimes my legs cramp up, so it's showed me that taking care of yourself as far as stretching as well, your mobility is just as important. It's important in that aspect. But otherwise, it's training is beneficial whether you are Muslim or whatever it is that you are.
No, most definitely, because also when you look at Islam as a whole, it's a religion that encourages physical, fitness, and also if you look at the activities. I mean, you mentioned Salah itself. If you're not a fit person, it doesn't seem to be a very nice activity because it's a lot of movement, but it also encourages physical, activity. So now, for someone that's new to the whole physical training thing, how do you encourage them to start, or how is the process? Where do I start?
A lot of people who are not really gym people have this idea of training is like military training, or like we're getting ready for the Olympics. And it really doesn't have to be. It depends on the person. There's different things that you can do. You don't have to necessarily go to a commercial gym. You can do Pilates, you can do Zumba, pedal is a big thing now. You can take up different activities. It doesn't have to be the necessarily go to a commercial gym, and just try out different things and figure out what suits you. Do you want something a little slower? Do you want something a little more high intensity, fast paced? I would just advise someone to try out different things and see what works for you, and keep it fun also. It doesn't. We're not in the military. Olympics are done. So that's what I would advise.
All right, definitely. I know with what do you call this? In terms of when we speak about personal training, a lot of people don't necessarily think of sports and, like you mentioned, pedal and all other things that you can keep to stay active. When someone speaks about physical, what do you call this, training, they would think of gym. Like, I need to go lift heavy weights and all of that. Would you say they have the same effects? Like going to gym and lifting, and also, like, maybe let's say for myself, if I choose to just maybe become a tennis player, and someone is gymming, like actually lifting weights and all of that, would you say it's the same effect? Would I achieve the same results?
It would depend on what your goal is. So if your goal, as for the guys, for example, if your goal is to have nice big muscles and look good, you will have to at least incorporate some sort of weightlifting and stuff. But otherwise, it would depend on your goal. If you just want to just have general fitness, it's not really so important what it is that you're doing, as long as you get your heart rate up and you sweating.
Oh, okay. So, and I know a lot of viewers at home who are watching right now are probably wondering, how do I now incorporate being a person that's physically active also with my day-to-day job or a busy life? Some people are mothers, fathers. It gets very hectic. What advice would you give to them? How do they now incorporate being physically active with, their day-to-day lives?
Right. Yeah. Everyone is different. Some people are going to school, some people have kids, some people going to work, so it can become a bit challenging. One of the things I advise is try and find a routine that fits into that. Right. Find out what works for you. Some people are willing to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning to make it to gym at 5 a.m. Personally, I prefer that, as in, because around that time nothing can really get in the way at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., you know, but later in the day, you know, traffic or whatever comes up, you know. So find out what works for you, find a time that you can fit it in, and I had always advised, like, stick to it. You know, if you're going to say, I'm going to go to the gym on Mondays at 4 o'clock, you know, stick to that, you know, instead of just going when you feel like. I would say set a schedule, stick to it, and find a community of people who are on the same mission as you. So once again, if it's Pilates, if it's boxing, whatever it is, find a community of people who are sort of like the same like you, whether they work, and you guys, you have like a team of people that are supporting you as well. So it's not just you. You have people that you can also relate to and talk to, and who encourage you as well. And it doesn't feel like you're doing it alone.
Okay, so I want to know, have you always been someone that's always physically active?
Yes, I've always been into sports, even from when I was young. I've always been a sporty person. I think grade 8 is when I started like actual gym. You know, I used to do push-ups in my bedroom, steal my parents' weights. And then once my chest started to pop out a little bit and got a few compliments, I just decided, you know, this is it.
This is the lifestyle.
This is what I'm going with.
Okay, so I'm sure that during the journey of you becoming, I mean, from stealing weights from your parents' room and what you are now, there's a lot that you have learned from self-discipline, patience, and mindfulness. Can you talk about, I mean, more about that? Tell us about how it has impacted you, because it's not just about your chest popping or having a toned body. There's so much more to, you know, physical activity and actually training. Can you talk more about the benefits?
Right. So I actually have my own studio, Flex Studio in Breslau Centurion, and you know, myself and we work in groups of people, and the people that I see that really see a difference, and you can see their lives changing, whether that's losing weight, maybe they become a little better with their boxing or fitness, or stronger or more confident. It's always the people that are consistent. You know, it's always the people who come there no matter what. You know, I do challenges, little challenges that are just attendance challenges, and I've given out prizes. I've given out prizes such as like to Sun City. Right now we're doing a challenge that's whoever comes consistently gets a Dyson. The hair straight Dyson, right?
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm just trying to give people an incentive
And
to
this
you
is
know,
the
I
first.
have to I gotta bribe people to come to the gym. You know,
Exactly. This is where we have gotten. People
Right.
don't know how to just pull up.
Just
You have
pull
to
up.
give up some, incentives. But
Right.
that's a good thing. That's
some
a good thing.
incentive. So even if, let's say, you don't win, just the fact that you can see that you came for so many days, you know, and it's funny when certain things are on the line, all of a sudden people can find time to.
Yes.
Before it's like, oh, I can't make it because whatever, school is hectic or work, but then as soon as I add an incentive, all of a sudden they can make time, you know. So the people I've seen make the biggest change, you know, not just necessarily physically, but also confidence-wise, how skilled they are. It's always the ones who are there consistently, and then the ones who put in that extra effort. So being consistent is one thing, but the other thing is when you are there, you give that extra effort. You know, you're not always gonna feel 100% or feel good. Some days you're tired, you lack of sleep, especially if you have kids. You might be a bit sick. You know, whatever the reason might be, you might be a bit sore. The fact that you come there and you do what you can for that day, those are always the people who actually see a difference. You know?
No, most definitely. I remember reading somewhere that sometimes consistency isn't necessarily showing up what you regard to be 100%. Even if you showed up and you only put out like 30%.
30%.
According to the books, that's giving you 100% because on that day, that was your 100. So consistency is everything, and I like that you mentioned that. And also you're doing a great job in motivating people and making sure that they stay fit and come to the gym. But lastly, I want you to just tell me, like, what would you say to someone who's on the fence about starting their fitness journey, or someone that has been restarting? I think there's a lot of us, I'm included in that. For the billionth time, I've been starting my fitness journey. You go and you're consistent for a month and then you fall off. What advice would you give to them?
First, I would say good luck with all the medical bills later in life. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I would tell. It gets expensive, you know, especially these days. That's the first thing I would say.
Okay.
But secondly, like I mentioned before, pick what suits you. You know, you just pick what suits you. It doesn't have to be necessarily like the typical commercial gym. So even if you want to do something slow, go for Zumba, go for Pilates, go for boxing, pedal, whatever it is. There's many different things, you know. It doesn't necessarily have to be what the traditional sense of there's many ways to be active, whether that's going for a walk, going to the mall, taking the stairs, you know, like little things like that while you're working, you
Yeah.
know, work standing up, you know, there's little things you can do. It doesn't have to be, you just got to find what works best for you and what you want. And that's what I would tell them.
Oh, that's definitely amazing. I mean, this has been a very beautiful conversation, and I think we've learned a lot. And if anything, I have learned about the importance of consistency, and also that working out isn't about the physical appearance, and it also affects your mental well-being. So thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all your beautiful gems.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.